Just arrived at Blackthorn Fishery. Let's hope the fishing's better than the disastrous journey here. Welcome to the Journeyman's Tales. Having spent the last 4 months locked in the house shielding, and with the unfortunate return of the original cancer, I decided for my own sanity I needed to break the rules in Wales and book some time away at Blackthorn Fishery, somewhere I feel I can safely shield just as well as I can in the house. Here we are, finally ensconced in the South Lodge, all the COVID-19 protocols in place. I say finally because it was a bit of a nightmare getting here. We packed up my van as usual, got about a mile from the motorway, and then we had flashing warning lights on the dashboard. And I turned left instead of right and went to the nearest VW garage, and they told me it was serious stuff and the van wasn't going anywhere. Fortunately, we had access to another van, so beloved took a £30 taxi ride to pick up the other van, came back, and we transferred everything out of my van into the other van, and eventually got to Blackthorn just as it was getting dusk really. So I set up the rods and I just put singles out overnight. I didn't really want to put a lot of bait in because I didn't really know what had been going on. But I've spoken to Carl and he's told me that not a lot has been coming out over the last week. So I'm gonna, I know it's mid-morning now, I'm gonna wait till sort of 12, 1 o'clock-ish to make a final decision where I'm going to put in some bait, and I'll start spotting in a fair bit. I think from what I can gather, a fair bit of bait seems to make a difference and work, so I'm going to give that a go. Been up since first light, haven't really seen anything. There's some bubbling going off in the corner of the water to my right, which isn't my water to fish, and the guy opposite me has had a 28 pounder this morning, nowhere near the bubbling apparently. And the only thing I've seen is a small double, maybe head and shoulder. Apart from that, no activity or no signs as to where the fish want to be, apart from not in my water. Anyway, we'll leave it, as I say, till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and make a decision. And I think I'm going to put a fair bit of bait in, because from what I can gather, when you do put a fair bit in, they seem to come to it quite readily, so fingers are crossed. And as anything kicks off, I'll get back to you. It's been a strange old day. Not a lot's been showing. They were bubbling off to my right in the bay this morning, which wasn't in my water. That's gone quiet, but there's now bubbling off to my left at the side of a little dot island that's not in my water as well. Apart from that, I haven't really seen anything. So I've kept the 13 wrap line for the 2 rods straight out in front of me, and I put a couple of kilo of mainly boilie, dumbbells, 15 mils, and some chops, a few crushed up, a little bit of hemp, and sorry, I thought that was a run. A little bit of hemp and a little handful of corn just to help fill the gaps up in the spod basically, but the majority of it's been boilie going out. And I've also put out about half a kilo spread around with a throwing stick for the night. I've put about half a kilo to 3/4 of a kilo of that spod mix off to the island on my left. Whether I fish it tonight, I'll wait and see what it's like in the morning. I've yet to make my mind up. But it's been a long old slow day, and maybe something will come in the night. But there's one fish come out all day, and that's been it. But it has been fishing slow for about a week now, apparently. But it can only get better, can't it? Well, a decision has been made. I'm taking the rod that was off to my right and putting it off the island to my left. They are still bubbling over there. As long as they move on to that baited area, we're laughing. Just give that a bit of time to sink, and away we go. It's now Sunday evening. We got here Friday evening. Still nothing's happened. One fish came out this morning about 8:30ish. There's been no signs all day. The bubbling both sides of me, left and right, has stopped. I did put out a load of spod midday yesterday and focused on that 13 wrap with the 2 rods, and then I changed the left hand rod over to fish the island. Nothing showed on that all day. Now I don't know whether they're put off by the spod or whether they're just not having it. They haven't been having it for over a week now in any serious numbers. So the plan is at the moment to spot after dark, because apparently 80% of the fish come during the daytime. Although I haven't said that, a couple of my 30s have come during dark, but I can't think of anything else apart from bringing the changes, doing a bit of after dark spotting, and maybe put out a kilo on the stick to get a bigger spread. The baits were fine, they're untouched, the rigs have been fine when I brought them back in and recast them out, so that's the latest plan anyway, fingers are crossed. It's still quite warm and dry, but can't think of anything else really. So that's tonight's plan, and still trying to maintain a positive thought. Anyway, I'll probably speak to you in the morning. Well, it's now mid-morning on Monday. We just had a tremendous downpour of rain, and I've just had a look up the margin to my right, and right in close I put some bait on Saturday evening. There's a bit of bubbling going on, so I've just popped a rod on top of that with a bit of fake prawn, and we'll see what happens in the next half hour. Fingers are crossed, because not a lot else is happening. Well, all too depressingly, it's Monday afternoon and nothing has worked so far. I've tried to my left, I've tried to my right where the fish have been bubbling. Most of it which have been just out of my water, but I've gone as close as I can. Hasn't produced anything. The spots that I've baited at 13 wraps haven't worked. So I noticed this morning when it was flat calm, it looked like a bit of a fly hatch going on around the 12 wrap area. So what I've done is brought all the rods in. I've baited up that area with quite a bit of spod, and I've put a kilo of buoys over the top with a throwing stick, and I'm going to fish all 3 rods on that tonight and pretend that the week is starting from now, and hoping things might just improve a bit. Well, it's Tuesday afternoon and I'm slowly heading into a record-breaking 5th night without a run. My previous best is 4 at home pool last year. So I think we might beat it, because in the words of the famous Ian Russell, it's fishing a bit sticky. Well, for me, certainly. I think there's 4 fish come out since Friday. The biggest one came out last night to a new arrival in the lodge to my right. Cracking fish, 34 pounds. But I think that's the first and only 30 of the 3 fish that have come out. So I'm struggling big time. I'm absolutely astounded by the amount of bait that goes in there. It's the first time I've been here on a changeover, so I saw the weekend people fish, they went, and the new arrivals came on Monday. Well, we're here for the week, so we've actually seen the changeover, and the amount of bait that goes in is phenomenal. I mean, when I arrived, it didn't do me any good. I didn't put any bait in because I didn't know what had gone in before me, etc, etc. But I don't know, kilos of it are flying in. No wonder the fish are putting on the weight they are. But it's not doing some people any harm, so it obviously works, but I don't know. I'm not convinced piling more bait in. I can understand putting a bit more smell in the water maybe and reactivating the swim by putting a bit of bait in, but I'm working on the premise of what I put out there hasn't been touched. And I've kind of broken the week up a bit. I've kind of decided that Monday was starting the session again. So I'm fishing slightly closer in, around the 12 wraps. It's an area that first thing in the morning has been producing, I can only assume, bloodworm hatch, and the swifts have been down picking them off. So I've put the bait over that area and concentrating on that, and I'll concentrate on that for the next couple of nights. And see what happens tonight. Can't get any worse. The weather is, I don't know, getting better. The pressure's dropping slightly. It's not a huge drop in pressure, but I mean, it's August, so as far as I'm concerned, the pressure's the pressure. But I mean, fishing in August to me shouldn't be this difficult, but hey ho, it is what it is. I've had a request from one of my main supporters, Barry, to do a review on the Fox compact pod that I'm using. So at some point I'll take the rods off it and try and do that. Either that or I'll do it later on and slot it in, but I will do it for you, Barry, because I think it's quite a nice bit of kit. Anyway, fingers crossed that if nothing turns up tonight, I hope to God Fulham can manage to beat Brentford tonight, because what with Chelsea losing at the weekend as well, it can only get better, can't it? My opening gambit is to use 3 different rigs: a pop-up rig, a wafter rig and a bottom bait rig. Now, I've not really changed any of the components of my rigs apart from the boa spinner rig. In this instance I'm using the Fox Camo splice hook link, and that's coupled with a Kamakura crank hook. Now, I tried the crank hooks when they first came out, and I've got to be honest, I found it difficult to keep them sharp, but this time I'm trying the ready sharpened ones. And my opening pop-up is an Almond Goo Special. The other 2 rigs will be fished with a bait that's new to me, the S7 by DNA. Again, as I said, one will be a wafter, one will be a bottom bait, and topped off with a piece of corn. These rigs can obviously be chopped and changed depending on how the fish respond to them. As you can see from the attire, it is far from August weather. In fact, it's bloody freezing. But I've been sitting here patiently watching for the last hour and a half, and I've seen about a dozen shows. Not particularly big fish, but they've been sticking their heads out and rolling. Not necessarily over the baited area. 1 or 2 have been close to the baited area, but they've been fairly scattered around the place. But that's the first thing I've really seen since I've been here. So it's getting exciting. Fox compact rod pod. I've had a request to do a bit of a review on it. That's the setup as I've been using it, and that's virtually the setup I use all the time now. I only bought the compact pod. It comes with, it can buy it with a kit, I think, and we get all the rod rests and the buzz bars and blah de blah. But to be honest, I've had Fox Black Label rod rests, bank sticks, call them what you may, and with the twist lock on, and I haven't been overly impressed with them. The collets snap, the little lugs on them break off, and they've ended up not in use. When I first bought it, I started using the Signet 2020 bank sticks, and they were fine in the beginning, but then I found that you had to tighten up the thumb screw tighter and tighter every time, and that was beginning to make an impression on the rise and fall stem. So then eventually I went over to what is ironically called have it locked down bank sticks, and quite happy with those at the moment. Been using those for, I don't know, 6 months. So it's kind of a combination of things. I made the mat for it, not for the obvious reasons of protecting the reels and the alarms from grit, which it does do, but where the actual mechanism is, there's 2 mechanisms with intermeshed cogs, and I presume they're reinforced plastic, but the grip was getting in there, and you had to be really careful to try and, well, I have to be really careful to try and clean them all out so the cogs actually don't get damaged. So by using the mat, it stops those filling up with bits of grit and sand. So that's the primary reason for the mat anyway. So that's the setup as I'm using it. There were a couple of reasons why I bought it. One was it's actually folds out down quite compact, and I'll show you that in a minute. But it can also be used with larger bank sticks, with a view to fishing Chesa Reservoir, which is concrete steps. And when you're using backbiters for pike alarms, it's better to keep the rod rest vertical. And with this sort of system, you can by moving the bank sticks up and down. So if you slacken these off, you can just drop the bank sticks down. So if the bank is sloping, you can do that kind of thing to it. Longer bank sticks at that end, obviously, but you can keep this bit level, which helps to keep these bits level. And I can do that with these as well. I'll change them round. I'll put the buzz bars on the longer ones and put them at the front of the swim if the bank is sloping down. So it's incredibly versatile in that regard. But I was really impressed the fact I could use it on these concrete steps, as I say, at Chesa Reservoir when I was pike fishing. So that's one of the good reasons behind it. So you can also get, I use them with stage stands at the Syndicate. But say and it's fully adjustable. Now what I'm saying about the cogs, there's fine cogs in there. I'll do a close up for you so you can see those, but there's fine cogs, intermeshing cogs on there, and they are linked, and they're on the same to both ends. The middle bit slides in and out, as do all the ends. Now what I did find in the beginning, if you pull these right out, it can be a bit fiddly to put back in again. So what I've done is I've scribed a line on each and every one of these, so I know I put it out to there. That's my setup basically, and it doesn't vary from what I'm doing. That's its finished size. And it comes in a nice neoprene, so that'll actually fit in my buzz bar bag. Negatives, not a huge amount, I've got to be honest. This locking system has been really good. As I say, if you pull it right out, it can be a bit fiddly at times to drop it back in again. But if you're fishing more or less the same system every time, you mark it like I've done, I know that's the correct distance every time. It'll fit with a mat every time. Say the cams are fine. I've had this, I don't know, a couple of years maybe now. So it's lasting. It's getting a fair amount of wear. Every now and again you've got to give these a bit of a clean out to get the bank sticks to slide up and down nice and easily. But say I'm using it with the Avid lockdowns at the moment and the Signet buzz bars, and yeah, I'd say it's a good bit of kit. I'm not sure what the price is now. I think it's around somewhere between £80 or £90 depending on where you're getting it from, but I think it's a good investment. Having said that, what I saw the other day was the Pro Logic, I think they call it the K1 pod, which is kind of stylised on the Calder Signet. Looks a nice bit of kit. That's made in aluminium, so presumably it's fairly lightweight as opposed to the stainless steel. The only problem with it, it doesn't come with, there's no sizes with it. I did write to Pro Logic and asked them to give me some sizes for it, and they sent me a couple of spurious adjustable buzz bar sizes, but nothing on the bank sticks or any of that information. But I don't know, I'd keep your eye on that one. It looks like it's got potential. Anyway, as for the Fox Compact, I'd give it a thumbs up. Good morning, it's Thursday morning and I've set a new PB, which is 6 consecutive nights blanking. It's been a bit of a disastrous trip, much like it started actually, which is a bit of a shame considering I've been waiting so long, but that's what life does to you sometimes, isn't it? Anyway, decided to do something positive, and that's pack up, go home, regroup and live to fight another day. Hopefully it won't be too long before I'm back out again. I know I've got hospital problems to sort out when I get home, but we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and with a bit of luck I'll see you in the not too distant future. Cheers for now.